All right, guys, from the top, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching these recent videos that I posted and leaving all of your comments and sharing your stories. I absolutely love hearing all this stuff and chatting with you guys. It's fun, but it's been very, very hard to keep up with it. And with that being said, I think all of you need to know that not every comment gets to me in a timely fashion. And a lot of the comments get buried. Some of these comments, I'll find them, in some cases, there have been comments that I've literally found months after they were posted. Well over a year ago, probably about a year and a half ago, something happened with YouTube and they stopped sending emails along with the messages. So whenever someone would leave a comment in the beginning, I would always get an email. So I would have a copy of that comment in my inbox. But now that's not happening. So when people leave comments, I don't even see anything. The only way I can see it is if I go to my account and go to community and look at all the comments that are in there. So things get lost in the shuffle. Just want you to know, especially if you guys are leaving comments that are, you want a response to it and everything, and I don't get back to you, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I will get back to you. Even people who are not so friendly, if a response is warranted, I will give a response, always. So just wanted to say thanks from the top. Some of you guys had mentioned that I was giving in to the masses and just saying, well, Fender is the best all-around, or the precision bass is the best all-around bass. I did say that, but what I'm saying is like just a well-rounded bass that anyone can pick up. You don't have to worry about it not being available like this one. As far as I'm concerned, this is my best bass, really. It's not always ideal for me to play it because it's fretless. And when it comes to a fretless bass, you have to be playing it all the time. Like, you need to always play. Now, I have it mic'd up with one of these little lapel mics, so it might distort a little bit. But this thing has just it plays like butter, unlike any of my other instruments. The only other instrument that I've ever owned that played as well or as great as this instrument and sounded as great was a Ken Smith 6-string bass, which I got rid of. Foolishly, now I've told this story before and I'll just tell it again because there's new people here. I traded this bass for a custom shop Fender Stratocaster. That night that I traded this bass off, I could not sleep. I was miserable. And then very next morning, I called the guy and I said, look, I love the Strat. I think it's great. I need it to do some recordings and stuff. I don't want to let go of it, but I want my bass back and I don't want to pay a fortune to get it back. I want you to be fair to me, please. And he basically sold me my bass for the price that I had paid for it originally, which was $1,200. Anyway, I drove out of the state. I drove to Alabama and I bought my Pedulla back, and I vowed never, I apologize to this thing. I will never part with you again. It's a very special bass. It's the first bass that went with me along with a Fender PJ bass, which I think is ultimately the best. It had this amazing PJ setup. It was a PJ Deluxe, and I don't know why, but for some reason I cannot find any photos of that, and I'm being super slack about transferring all my 8mm video over to digital so that I can start showing you guys those clips. But I am working on it, and I'll show you a little proof here. I took that Fender PJ bass and this Pedulla to my first ever recording session where there was like a producer / engineer on hand recording our demo. He actually worked quite well with this bass, but he told me when I plugged in that Fender, he's like, wow, this thing is ridiculous because it had so much punch to it. So he really had to EQ this bass and bring it up in the mix to get it heard. And it cut through the mix quite well. You hear it, it sounds great. But that was when I started to realize that this bass wasn't hot enough for me, like the pickups weren't hot enough. So I always found myself turning up the amps louder to get more tone out of this. So here's where things went wrong. I made the mistake of getting EMGs. Like, I swapped these Bartolinis out and put EMGs in here. That's where things went terribly wrong, because once I did that, it was super hot, it was distorted, it sounded terrible. And I think the guy tried to use the preamp that was already in here with the EMGs. And I said, dude, just switch it back. He switched it back, but it was never the same. So this bass would be pretty much perfect right now if I had not fiddled with these pickups. I've taken it to at least 3 different luthiers or whatever, techs. I've had people check out the bass in general just to make sure everything's straight with it. And they're like, oh yeah, this bass is awesome. And it has, it's been really good. Like I don't have to do anything to it. But the pickups, no one can seem to get them straight. I finally had found this guy. Bartolini actually hooked me up with this guy who worked on a lot of the Pedulla basses when Michael Pedulla was still making those basses. And I started talking to him and he told me, he said, you know, I think whatever is up with your pickups is minor, so just drop it off here. And I said, oh, no, I'm not gonna drop it off. And he was like, well, listen, I'm really backed up right now. And if you want me to straighten out your pickups, and I will, you're gonna have to leave it with me. And I said, well, and I don't know why I can't remember his name right now, but I said, I'll sleep on it, I'll think about it, and I'll get back to you. I probably waited a good 6 months to get back to him because I just put this thing back in the case and went on about my business and was, you know, I was playing a couple other fretless basses that I had and I just forgot about it. But then I said, you know what? I pulled this thing out, started playing it again. I was like, I've got to get these pickups fixed. So I called the guy back, tried to reach him, couldn't reach him, and then got in touch with the contact who connected me with him. Sadly, he had passed away. So I lost my last chance as someone who really understood these instruments and could get it straight. But yeah, I mean, the point to me posting this video, because I have some other subjects I want to discuss with you guys. I'm really itching to post these other videos. And I have some demos coming, the G&L L1000, like DI demos that I've already filmed. I just need to finish getting them edited and post them so you guys can hear what it sounds like. But I think you ultimately need to find the bass that works best for you. The best all-around bass is the best bass that works for you. No one else. It's not a bass that other people tell you. Take it from me. The moment you start letting people get into your head and mess with you and, you know, tell you what kind of basses to play, what amps you can play, how you should, what to wear, the whole nine, I promise you'll reach a boiling point with that. And you'll say, you know what, F all of you guys, go pound sand. I'm gonna play what I wanna play. I'm gonna wear what I wanna wear. I'm gonna use whatever amps I wanna use. And if you don't like it, then you go find someone else. And that, I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. And I slowly started to realize as time went on, I'm like, wow, man, you know, a lot of the people who were saying stuff to me, they had no business telling me anything. And I certainly had no business listening to them. Because when you start to part with instruments, if you are the way I am about instruments, I have a strong bond with my instruments. Unlike any other fretless I've owned, it has this growl to it. So these little Hollyland mics, I don't know if it's gonna do well, but it just has this sustain to it and this growl that I just... I love it. I mean, everything about it is... Anyway, pick the bass that works best for you. Let me show you my first bass. It's useless now, but I want to show it to you. This is my first bass ever. Now, the first bass I ever played was a Fender Precision bass. My good friend and brother, Chris, took the photo of me playing bass for the first time ever. So that photo that I sometimes put up on the screen of me cross-eyed and playing the Fender Precision bass, that was the first time I ever played a bass. I had been behind the drum kit that day. We were working on some songs, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna pick up dude's bass and see what this is all about. And sure enough, it just clicked with me, and I was like, wow, this is my instrument. Like, I just have to do it. So picked this thing up, never done any kind of a setup on it. It needs an adjustment for sure, but I won't part with this bass. Even though it's useless now, I will not part with it because it was my first bass. Not everyone's like that. I wish I could be more like those people, but I have all these memories attached to all of my instruments, especially the black P bass that you guys see in a lot of these videos. That 1966 P bass has been with me through a lot. It has been involved in way more recording sessions than any of my other instruments. And that's why I always say this is the most well-rounded or the best all-around bass to be using, because it's usually the bass that most people call for, and it's passive. You don't have to worry about putting batteries in. That was something I forgot to mention in the last video. You know, I think it means a lot to not have to deal with the pickups, because truthfully, Pedulla would be a lot easier to deal with if it just had passive pickups. This is why I loved the Sandberg, whatever you want to call it. But this is why I loved that California TT4 so much, because it was a passive instrument. But the thing that bothered me about it is the pickups were not very hot. However, with the jazz bass, the pickups are super hot. They have a lot of bite to them. And that's why it is my go-to bass these days. The P bass, I don't even really like to take it out of the house. The only place I take it is to the studio. I refuse to play another live show with that P bass. It was retired in 2021. I said, that's it. November 2021, this is my last gig with the black P bass, because I don't want to, I just worry about it. Like, I'm just like, no, I want to keep it with me. I don't want to be taking it to gigs. So I'll just take the Ibanez, the ATK, or the Fender jazz bass. That's really my go-to bass. That is the one. So I'll show it to you really quick so you don't have to go look at it in another video. Right. Here she is. Yeah, she's beautiful and she sounds great. I have not taken this bass back out of the case since that day that I played outside, so. But it's still a little out of tune there. The thing about the jazz bass, it's the neck, really. But it's not just the neck. The neck is great, and it's wonderful to play. It feels so much better, really. It's these pickups. They are so much louder. I have it turned down right now. Watch, I'm gonna turn them both all the way up. So what you just heard was me, they were about halfway. See, you're not gonna be able to tell because of the mic that I'm using here, and it's not DI, it has this noise cancellation, and it tries to keep it down, and if it doesn't, if it's unsuccessful in doing that, it starts to distort. That's going to be distorted. Great bass, really. Maybe I should update the video again. Maybe I should stand corrected again. But every time I pull this bass out and start playing it, I'm always like, man, why don't I spend more time playing this bass? And when it comes to the boutique basses, which I think are the ultimate basses, I think that if you can come up with the money, getting an awesome boutique bass from one of these guys, I'm gonna say this right now when it comes to the boutique basses. I really miss the days that you could get a boutique bass for a reasonable price. You know, to be able to buy a boutique bass between $1,200 and $2,500, this is how things were in the 90s, as well as the early 2000s. But by 2010, boutique basses were, the cheapest ones were going for like $4,000, and that was like if Fender was having some kind of special. But those days are far behind us now. You'll pay $2,200, $2,500, you'll pay $3,000 for an Ultra American 2 Fender Precision or Jazz. You'll pay easily $2,000 to $3,000 for one of those basses, which is insane to me. You know, once again, the best all-around bass is the best bass that works for you. Don't let anyone else tell you what you should play. Seriously, learn from someone who's been there and done that. And part of the reason I started to listen to people is because I used to not be an easy person to work with. I used to not let anyone give me any input on how to write a bass line or where the bass line should work in a song unless it was a producer. And even then, it took some twisting of the arm to get me to cooperate. As I grew older, I started learning to cooperate with people more and to be a little bit easier to deal with and not be so arrogant as well as ignorant, and listen to people and let other people share their ideas.